Welcome to Trove. Today we're going to be showing you how to make this spooky skeleton bones Halloween cake decorating tutorial. This cake was so fun to create and actually really simple. So we're going to get started by creating our edible meringue bones. So we're going to start by measuring out 120 grams of liquid egg whites, or you can use about 4 large egg whites. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and we're going to use our KitchenAid stand mixer with the whisk attachment and just mix it on low. While that's mixing, I'm going to measure out 200 grams of granulated sugar, and this is about 1 cup. I'm going to turn my mixer onto high at this point, and we're going to slowly add our granulated sugar to the mixture. So I'm adding a tablespoon at a time and waiting about 15 to 20 seconds in between each addition so that it gets thoroughly mixed in. Once all the granulated sugar has been added, we're going to keep mixing on high until all the sugar has been dissolved. You can actually check this by rubbing a tiny bit in between your fingers and seeing if you can feel any granules. You also want to check to see if stiff peaks have formed, to see if the meringue is still standing up tall and not drooping at all when I lift it out of the mixture. And now at this point you can mix in your flavors. I'm adding a teaspoon of vanilla. Feel free to use any extracts that you prefer to use. You can use almond or peppermint. And you just want to mix this on low until it's just combined. Now I'm prepping my piping bag. So we're going to be piping our meringue bones. I'm using an 18-inch disposable piping bag here, and I'm just filling the bag full of the meringue and folding the top of the bag over so that I don't get any messy fingers. That's the worst. And now I'm just rolling the top of the bag together and twisting it as I go. And I'm just going to snip the top of it off so that it's creating just a round circular tip, which is going to be perfect for piping those bones. Now here's the fun part. This is where you get to take creative freedom on how you want your bones to look. But I basically started by piping a heart shape and piping a skinny line down through the center and then another heart. And I kind of made them all varying shapes and sizes and lengths so that it would add some variety to my cake. Once we're done piping all of the bones, we're going to pop this tray into the oven, and it's set at 225 degrees, and we're going to keep them in there baking for about an hour. Once that hour is done, we're actually going to just turn the oven off, leaving the door closed and leaving our bones in the oven, keeping warm for about an hour to 2 hours until they fully cool down and come to room temperature. And here they are. They turned out so well. I'm really excited to use these to decorate the cake. So in preparation of my cake decorating, I'm also making a chocolate buttercream. And to my chocolate buttercream, I'm adding some black food coloring. I really like the Chef Master Black Diamond color here because it's so pigmented. You just need a couple of drops of gel and it works really well. So I just added that to my chocolate buttercream, and what I found really worked was letting the buttercream sit for some time, and the black color really deepened. I also did pop a little bit into the microwave, and for some reason adding heat to the buttercream really deepened up the color as well. So now we're ready to move on to icing our cake. I'm preparing a piping bag here, filling it with our black buttercream. I've also prepped 3 6-inch chocolate cake rounds. I have a bowl of cherries here, which I think is going to make the perfect filling for inside of my chocolate cake. It's going to look a little bit like blood when you cut into it. I have some red spray roses here, and these are going to just add an elevated, moody vibe to our cake when we decorate it. So let's get started on decorating. I'm gonna start by taking a serrated knife and leveling off the top of each cake, since there is a bit of a dome on each one. And now taking a Wilton cake turntable. I actually really don't like this turntable, but I will link another one that we use all the time that works great, and an 8-inch gold cake board. I'm just going to start by smearing a little bit of my buttercream onto the cake board so that the cake stays positioned and doesn't move from the board. And I'm just pressing down the first cake layer. And I'm gonna start just by adding a thin layer of our chocolate buttercream to the base of the cake and smoothing it out with an offset spatula. So I'm just creating a ring of buttercream around my cake base right now so that it creates basically a dam that my cherries can sit inside without spilling out through the cake. And now I'm adding my second layer and pressing it down and doing the exact same thing over again and topping it with our last layer of chocolate cake. And now we're gonna crumb coat it. So I'm just adding a pretty messy, rough outside layer of buttercream. I don't want this layer to be too thick of buttercream. It's just literally meant to lock in all the crumbs. This cake was super messy and very crumbly. So I kind of just did the best I could and smoothed out the buttercream. This step does not need to look beautiful. Don't worry if it looks like a crumbly mess at this point. And I'm just taking my cake scraper and smoothing out the sides of the cake, getting as straight of an edge as I can and straight top. And now it's ready to go into the freezer, and I'm gonna pop it in there for about 15 minutes. Okay, we're now taking it out of the freezer. It's firm to the touch, as you can see here. I'm now just going to coat my cake with the final layer of buttercream. So adding a very generous portion to the top of my cake. I'm now just smoothing it out over the sides of my cake and letting it kind of spill over the edge, trying to create a smooth top. And now taking my offset spatula, I'm smoothing out as best as I can over the sides of the cake and finishing it with my cake scraper here to create those really smooth edges. Also, be as creative as you like here. I like a messier outer edge on the outside of my cake. I kind of like it to have that imperfect look, but if you prefer a really smooth edge cake, feel free to take your offset spatula and smooth out the sides. So now just taking a paring knife and running it along the bottom edge of my cake to remove the excess buttercream and finishing it with a damp piece of paper towel and just cleaning up that gold cake board so that it can sparkle and shine. Okay, and now we're on to the decorating. This is the fun part, guys. This is where you can be as creative as you like. So we're gonna be adding all of these bones to the outside of our cake. I did try adding buttercream directly onto the bones, but found that really didn't work very well, and they're actually very delicate. So you wanna be careful, they do snap, but also keep in mind, it's okay to have some broken bones for this cake. I really found that this looked better when there were some broken up pieces on this cake, so don't try to make it look too perfect since it is supposed to be kind of a graveyard, old bones, skeleton vibes to this cake, and definitely some broken up pieces adds to that. Okay, and once you're happy with the outside of your cake, we're gonna finish it by adding some bones and red roses to the top of the cake. I do like to open up my roses a little bit to make them look a little bit larger and not so perfect. And I also do like to grab some of the petals from the very inside. Now I have some petals to play around with as well because I really like decorating with some of the petals. So I'm just adding a couple of bones and placing them onto the top of my cake first. And then I'm placing a little bit of chocolate buttercream so that I'm not putting the red roses directly into my cake. It's sitting on top of the buttercream, or it's just loosely sitting on top of my bones here. And I'm just scattering those where I see fit and also placing a few loose petals around the area as well. I also do want to mention that if you do choose to use fresh flowers for your cake, I do not ever suggest ingesting the flowers at all, but I would avoid certain flowers that have any toxicity or can be harmful to ingest. And here we are, our spooky skeleton bones cake is all complete. I love how this cake turned out. I'm really excited to bring this to my next Halloween gathering. This is going to be such a hit at a spooky Halloween party. I really hope that you give this cake decorating tutorial a try, and please let me know in the comments down below if you do or if you have any questions. We'll see you in the next video.